Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to start the second chapter of democracy. What is a democracy? Why democracy? Now, democracy, the meaning you should know, it is a form of government in which the rulers are ruled elected by the people. So, this is known as democracy. What is a democracy? Now, here I am reading. In chapter 1, we have read about some of the stories. Some of the country stories are there in the first chapter. First chapter I have not taken because it is already deleted from CBSE. Through these stories, we discuss various governments and organizations. Now, various governments of different countries, how they worked with the different organizations. We called some of these democracies. Now some of the country been known as a democratic and some countries are known as non-democratic. Others were described as a non-democracy. Now you should find out afterwards. I will give you the answer of democratic and non-democratic. Now here it's written, can you recall for each of these countries something about the government that were described as a democracy? Now in the first chapter some of the countries democracy, how it is described, like Chad, okay, a country before and after Pinochet's rule. That time there was a ruling leader, Pinochet, how before they have started and after Pinochet's rule how the government had started. Now the next is Poland. Poland is another after the fall of the Communist Party. Poland, how it rules after the Communist Party. There was a Communist Party. Now, like in our country, there is a multi-party system. Other country has some of the one or two government. Now, Ghana in South Africa. Ghana in the early period of Nkrumah's government. Here it is written before Nkrumah's how the government was working. What do you think is common to them? Why do we club them all under the label of a democracy? What is it that distinguishes these governments from Pinochet's rule in Chile, communist rule in Poland, or the later period of Nkrumah's rule in Ghana? So in different countries, how the rulers they ruled before and after. What do these governments have in common with the military rule? Now under this ruling country, the main common thing was military. That time military rule was there. And here it's written some of the country like military rule in Myanmar. Why do we say that these governments are not democratic? On the basis of this analysis, write down some common features of the democratic government and non-democratic government. Then I will give you this answer afterwards. Why now democratic government is here? It's written here like democratic government, it is elected by the people and ruled by the government, and in this citizen can enjoy all the freedoms. Major decisions are taken under elected leaders. These all the points are coming under democratic. It is based as a free and fair election, and now in a democracy each adult has a right to give the vote, but in non-democratic there is nothing, only the choose of their rulers or change them. People do not have any freedom. People may not have any elected representation and cannot take final decision. So it is totally opposite from the democracy and the non-democratic. In a non-democratic government, you cannot do whatever you like. Now they are free and fair election. There is no free and fair election in this non-democratic. So these are the points. Afterwards I will give you the difference between democratic and non-democratic. Why define democracy? Now here it's given definition of the democracy. Before we proceed further, let us first take note of the objection by Mary. She does not like this way in defining the democracy and wants to ask some basic questions. Her teacher Matilda Lindog responds to her question. She had given the answer as other classmates joined the discussion. So this discussion you have to read yourself between the Mary and Lindog's madam conversation. A simple definition. Now come to the democracy, a simple definition. Let us get back to our discussion of similarities and differences among governments that are called democracy. Just now I told you so many things are quite different from democracy and non-democracy. In the last chapter, we identified one simple factor common to all the democracy. The government is chosen by the people, where in a democracy, we could thus start with a simple definition. Again, it has been described that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. This is a useful starting point. Now, this definition allows us to separate democracy from forms of government that are clearly not democratic. The army rulers of Myanmar, as you have read, Myanmar is already governed by the military government. Now they are not elected by the people. That is not elected by the people, but it is a ruling of the military. Now those who happen to be in control of the army become the rulers of the country. People have no say in this decision. Dictators like Pinochet are not elected by the people. As you know, dictatorship and a family, one after one, they are ruling. That is already dictatorship. Now this also applies to monarchies as a kingship. Now the king of Nepal and Saudi Arabia, they rule not because the people have chosen but them to do so, but because they happen to born into the royal family. Here it is given the monarchies, the kingship in Nepal and Saudi Arabia. This is a common thing in their country. This simple definition is not adequate. Here the simple meaning is not only, it reminds us that democracy is a people rule. It is a people's rule. But if we use this definition in an unthinking manner, we would end up calling almost every government that holds an election democracy. Now that would be very misleading. As we noted in a chapter 4 you have not read, every government in contemporary world wants to be a democracy, even if it is not so. That is why we need to be carefully distinguish between a government that is a democracy and one that pretends to be one. We can do so by understanding each word in this definition carefully and spelling out the features of a democratic government. So afterwards, later on, I will give you the difference between the democratic government and non-democratic government. So democracy, as you know, it's a full freedom. People elect their rulers, but in non-democratic government, there is no freedom and no fear of election. Now, features of the democracy is given. We have started with a simple definition that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. Again and again they are defining. This raises many questions. Now, who are the rulers in this definition? Which officials must be elected for a government to be called a democracy? Which decision may be taken by the non-elected officials in a democracy? What kind of election constitutes a democratic election? So there are so many questions. Which rulers will choose the leaders? What type of rulers they will choose the rulers? Then the election, what type of election can be conducted? What condition must be fulfilled for an election to be considered democratic? Now, who are the people who can elect the rulers or get elected as a ruler? Should this include every citizen on the equal basis? Now here it's a full freedom. Here it's a right that everyone can give the vote. Now, can a democracy deny some citizens this right? Finally, what kind of form of government will become? So all these features, all these lines are related with the democracy. Now, can elected rulers do whatever they want in a democracy, or must a democratic government, so many questions are rising, for the function with some limits? Is it necessary for a democracy to respect some rights of the citizen? We are having a full right to give the vote. Let us consider each of these questions with the help of some example. Now some of the examples are given here, how some of the country are known as a democratic country. Major decision by the elected leaders. Now in a Pakistan, here one example is given. In a Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. one military coup was there. It started from October 1999 in Pakistan. He overthrew the present government and declared himself as a chief executive of the country. He overthrew the present government and he became as a chief executive of a country. Later, he changed his designation to president and in 2002 held a referendum in a country that granted him for 5-year extension. He became as a president and it was given as for 5-year extension. Pakistani media, human rights organization and democracy activists said that the referendum was based on malpractices and fraud. As he became as a ruler, whatever the Pakistani media had said that it has been done in a malpractices, in a fraud way, by doing cheating, all this, he became as a leader. 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the constitution of the Pakistan. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national or a provincial assembly. As a president leader, when he can dismiss the national or a provincial assemblies. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by a National Security Council, which is dominated by the military officers. Now, as you know, the whole Pakistan, it has been ruled by the military. After passing this law, elections were held to the National and State Assembly. In 2 ways it had held. Now, so Pakistan has had election. Now again election was there. Elected representatives have some powers. Whoever had become the representatives, they are having some powers. But the final power rests with the military officers and General Musharraf himself. Whole of the government work is under Parvez Musharraf or with the military officers. Now clearly there are many reasons why Pakistan under General Musharraf should be called as a democracy, as he came from the military. He was supporting the military, but it is still this country being known as a democracy. How? But let us focus on one of these. Can we say that rulers are elected by the people in Pakistan? Not quite. People may have elected their representatives to the national and provincial assemblies. Whatever the people had elected, it is according to the 2 ways, one for national and one for provincial assemblies. But those elected representatives are not really the rulers. They cannot take the final decision. The power to take a final decision rests with the army officials. The government was in the hand of army officials and with the General Musharraf, and none of them are elected by the people. So whatever the government was there, military ruling was there, General Musharraf was there, these representatives, the rulers, were not elected by the people. So here it's given, this happens in many dictatorship and monarchies. You know the meaning of dictatorship, one after one, and monarchies from the king. They formally have an elected parliament and government, but the real power is with those who are not elected. In last chapter we read about the role of USSR. First chapter you have not read, second chapter, so here it's written. We read about the role of USSR in communist Poland and US is contemporary Iraq. Here the real power was with some external powers and not with the locally elected representatives. This cannot be called a people's rule. Now this gives us first feature. Again one feature is given about the democracy. In a democracy, the final decision making power must rest with those elected by the people. That means whatever the final decision is taken, it is taken with the people who have elected the leader. Now free and fair electoral competition. Another topic is free and fair electoral competition. Whatever in a democracy, there must be a free and fair election. In China, elections are regularly held after 5 years. In our country also, after 5 years elections are held. So in China it's given, elections are held every 5 years of electing the country's parliament called Congo Renmin Debek Dahur, that is the National People's Congress. The National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country, where in China, here it's written, it has nearly 3,000 members elected from all over the China. 3,000 members being elected. Some members are elected by the army. Before contesting elections, a candidate needs the approval of the Chinese Communist Party, a big party in China, that is a Communist Party. Only those who are the members of the Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest the election held in 2002 and 2003. That type of election was held in these years. The government is always formed by the Communist Party. China is having a big party that is known as Communist, and from Communist Party only the government is formed. Since its independence in 1930, Mexico holds elections every after 6 years. Now another country it's given, Mexico, it holds an election every after 6 years to elect its president. The country has never been under a military. Now in Mexico no militaryship was there and no dictatorship was there. But until 2000 every election was won by party called PRI in Mexico. PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party. Now this is also like Communist Party we have read in China, same as in Mexico also. The PRI party is there, that is the Institutional Revolutionary Party. Opposition parties did contest election but never managed to win. The PRI was known as to use many dirty tricks to win the election. The PRI, this party in Mexico, it plays a very dirty tricks to win the election. All those who were employed in a government offices had to attend its party meetings, that PRI has said. The teachers of the government schools used to force parents to vote for the PRI. So that is also one of the big party in Mexico. And PRI, to win the election, whenever they win an election, they plays a dirty tricks or a fraud. Media largely ignored the activities of the opposition political parties except to criticize them. Whoever the other parties, they used to criticize on this. Sometimes the polling booths, you know, the polling booths where the people go and give the votes. Now here it's written, sometimes the polling booths were shifted from one place to another in the last minute, which made it difficult for the people to cast their votes. Sometimes these polling booths being shifted, and the people can give the in different places the vote. The PRI spent a large sum of money. See, this just now you have read how malpractices and fraud taken under PRI to win the election. The PRI spent a large amount of money in the campaigning for its candidates. So this type of things are going in a country. Should we consider the elections described above as examples of the people electing their rulers? Reading these examples, we get a sense that we cannot. There are many problems here. In China, the elections do not offer the people, never the people they offer, any serious choice. They have to choose the ruling party and the candidates approved by it. Can we call this type of choice? So here so many questions rises as along with these countries. In the Mexican example, people seem to really have a choice, but in practice they had no choice. No real choice is there. There was no way the ruling party could be defeated, even if people were against it. These are not fair elections. Some of the country they are having a good free and fair election. Some of the country they are not having free and fair election. We can thus add a second feature to our understanding of a democracy. Holding elections of any kind is not a sufficient. Not only election is needed to control the country. The elections must offer a real choice between a political alternatives. Now election must be in a free and fair way. It must be offered in a real choice, and it should be possible for people to use this choice to remove the existing rulers if they wish so. So a democracy must be based on a free and fair election where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. Now in some of the country you have read how the people are electing, some of the parties are there, like in China communist party is there, no other party can win the election. Even in a Mexico, PRI is one of the big institution, big party, and how they win the election. So here it's given, we shall find out more about the democratic election in chapter 4, as you will read in chapter number 4. Now, one person, one vote, one value in a democracy. In the last chapter, we read about how the struggle of the democracy was linked to the demand for universal adult franchise. Now, you should know the meaning of a universal adult franchise, where the people at the age of 18 or above, he or she is having a full right to give the vote. We call it as a universal adult franchise. This principle has now come to be accepted almost all over the world. Now this type of thing has been seen in many of the parts of the country. Yet there are many instances of denial of equal right to vote. Some of the countries having the full right, full free freedom to give the vote, and some of the country is not having a full freedom of giving the vote. For example, here is given in Saudi Arabia, women does not have a right to give the vote. In Saudi Arabia, when you will go, you will see the women is not having a full right to give the vote. Estonia, another one. Estonia has made its citizenship rules in such a way that people belonging to Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. Russian minority is there where the people is not having the full right to give the vote. In Fiji, another one, in Fiji, the electoral system is such that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fiji. Fiji is having a good value, more than one, here it's written, as in India the people are giving the vote. Democracy is based on a fundamental principle of a political equality that gives us the third feature of the democracy. Now, third feature you will read here, in a must of democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. So here it's given about the meaning that in our country also one people can give the one vote which is equal to their value. So we shall read more about the chapter number 4. When it will come, then chapter number 4, it is described fully in a big way. Now tomorrow I will start page number 29, rule of law and respect for rights.